John Wood.
Last time.
Say it
Last
ain't so.
time. John, how many more days do you have?
You mean minutes?
Minutes.
Yeah.
Days, hours, and minutes?
Yeah.
John's last meeting with us, so. let's face it.
Okay, I'm coming in for my last meeting, but I also, they selected an interim replacement for me, Arcova Scott, and she's
Oh, good.
talking to Carmen Breck out here, who's also retiring. She's gonna walk in, and I wanted to sort of introduce her, and I asked Dave if he could replace me on this committee, and he said he would bring it to the Management Association and see if that was the right thing to do.
Okay, great.
So I wanted her to see what it was like here, and see if she likes you folks.
That's a tall order.
And this is Arcova Scott.
Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Hello,
Arcova
good to
Scott.
see you.
Welcome, please have a seat.
Oh, you have a sign even, yeah, good.
All right, so we have our agenda, very few things on the agenda today because we wanted to dedicate the time to the tentative budget and walk everybody through. But just to go through the roll call, Emily Sambalian, is she here? No?
Nope.
Jordan is not here?
I'm the current VP of business head.
Is that Emily's?
No, I took her position. Chris
What's your
Langstaff. Chris Langstaff. I have a card.
All right. David Leclerc with Management Association is here. John Wood with Management Association is here, along with Arcova Scott. We have Rod Foster, Julie Kiotis, Mary Erin Crook, Jeff Wojcik is not yet here, and Sherb Richard Harsha.
Nope.
No. Gary Potts is here. Julio Huerta is here. We have Tanya Fennessy as our resource representative, and we have Dr. Scott, who is joining the conversation. All right, so everybody is here. Call to order and introductions. Public comment. Anybody, anything anybody want to say prior to jumping into the agenda? No? Okay. Approval of minutes from April 23rd. If you want to take a few minutes and go through that and see if we have anything we need to correct. If not, then I'll take a motion and a second. and
Move
then-
approval.
I second.
Great. Love it. All in favor? Do I have to do that? Bob?
Yeah,
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
all opposed. You
You're
have to ask, no, you have to ask.
Any
Oh,
opposed?
Yeah,
No?
got it.
Anything else? Any other required? It's done.
That's
Good.
done,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Next thing, just to move up, item number 5, here are the future agenda minutes, meeting dates for the BRAC meeting. Yeah.
Can I say one thing about that? They start in September, it's because of the school date is like what, the 30th of August? And it's the 4th Thursday of every month. And I wondered if you all wanted to do it earlier in September.
Are the
Just
dates?
start with the 4th Thursday in September.
Okay, so it sounds like it's,
Yeah, I think
okay.
that's probably okay.
Okay.
Are you gonna send out meeting requests, or?
Yeah. I
Okay,
sent
good,
them
so I don't
all.
end up with doubling stuff up on that.
Is November the 4th? That's not the 4th Thursday in November, is it? The
No.
19th, yeah, that
November
one's
is
different.
different,
Right,
different
okay.
because of the holidays.
Right,
Can we actually check that with the benefits committee meeting to see if they conflict?
yeah,
With the November and the December.
just November.
Probably just
Oh,
November.
yeah,
I think December they should be fine, because theirs is usually the third Thursday
Right.
of every month.
right.
Okay, so Beverly will send out the meeting appointments for you guys. Primarily, the topic for today is the,
Pest control.
it's been following me all day. All right, so primarily the topic of conversation is the tentative budget.
He's hallucinating.
I wish.
I was seeing tracks for a minute there, I don't know.
All right, so the tentative budget, there are 2 documents in here that were not a part of the package that went out for the public board package for the June 17th meeting. That is this long sheet with color columns, and I'll kind of walk everybody through that in a minute. In addition to a breakdown, a 3-page breakdown of the buckets of money in the tentative budget. It's not everything in the tentative budget, but it's an actual, it's meant to help everybody kind of identify where in the budget the major things are. Okay?
Is this up to date? Because I read in the paper this morning that the governor just signed something.
No, this
Yeah.
is our tentative budget, which will be loaded on July 1st. We have not been told anything specific related to the signed budget yet. These are all still estimates. So there are two things that are happening. Primarily, what happens during, as I understand it, during the budget process is that in mid-May to the end of May, the second report from the Chancellor's Office, or P2, comes out. That is used by the districts to figure out what's going to happen for the remainder of the fiscal year, at the end of June 30th, and it gives us a projection of where our rollover balance is going to be. Sometimes districts have rollover balances that could be a couple $100,000, could be $1 million, maybe a little more. Some districts are right on target. We are anticipating being right on target. We spend our dollars for student services. That's the meaning of the budget, is to put the dollars where they're meant to be. However, this year, for whatever reason, the P2 did not come out in May. From what I understand, the law states that P2 has to be, or the reports from the Chancellor's Office have to be with the State Controller's Office no later than June 20th. And then they have 5 business days for the Controller's Office to tell the Chancellor's Office it's good to go, and then they post it on the website, and that's when we get the reports. So we're being told that they will either be posted today or tomorrow, which is the 5th business day. That will then allow us to kind of go in and determine whether or not there is more revenue coming in than we expected. My assumption is Prop 98, everyone's talking about there's more money coming in. That's when we will see it, if we see it. That then gives us the foundation for the beginning of the fiscal year. Tentative budget was approved on June 17th. We have until the end of August to put together the actual adopted budget with the actual numbers, and then we take it to the board on September 2nd for approval. During that process, we will revisit all of the requests that the schools made and make a determination if we can fund more, or if less has to be funded. Right now, the assumption is more is going to be funded. Okay? And then we'll walk this group through, and I think the IEC through, the budget requests, tying back to program review processes, and then put them into the adopted budget for the board approval. Does that make sense? Yeah.
There's word out there that there could be a fairly significant jump in FTES per student, the rate.
That's in here. We'll get to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
So that's the budget process. So what we gave to the board, we explained that to the board that we don't have P2. So in the actual presentation that was done on June 17th, we can turn to there, I'll walk you guys through. Page 1, the overview is basically just saying what our obligation is and what the state process is. The two houses kind of get together and they have negotiations. They come up with a recommendation, it goes to the governor, and then there's negotiation back and forth. And that's what's been happening for the last few weeks. According to the newspapers this morning, the governor signed the budget. There were slight adjustments, but for the most part, what we've been told throughout the year is the community college system is getting more money than it has in the past. What is not being said is that more money, that additional money, is coming in 2 buckets. One is ongoing and one is one time. We have, and we'll get to it in a minute, but about $10 million of ongoing money coming in. In 15-16, we have ongoing increases in the amount of about $15 million, which is a potential problem, and we have one-time dollars coming in of about $11 million. Okay? All right. So, just an overview of what happens in the state with the budget and how it trickles down to us. On page 2, that's where we start with the rollover balance, and we have not been able to determine that because of the pending P2 data. The next line, for $15.3 million, that is what we are projecting. Look at the PowerPoint, Kathy, and go to page 2. See this one? Okay.
Go ahead, thanks.
So because we don't have P2 data yet, we can't determine what our beginning rollover balance is going to be, but our projections through the end of May told us that we are projecting a $15.3 million beginning balance. That's generally the reserves that the district has, which is $12,050,000, plus whatever is set aside in what we call reserves for contingencies. It's still in what I call a lockbox type of reserve, but we have access to it. We just have to get board approval to do that. Okay? So for 15-16, we have a budget of $143 million, or $144 million. For federal dollars coming in for 15-16, that is about $150 million, and that is primarily because of the money that we disperse through financial aid. We have an administrative overhead that we get to charge for that.
150 million?
Yeah.
Thousand.
150,000. Yeah, I wish.
150 million.
As you said, that's a lot more than we disperse, so.
Yeah. All right, so 151,000, thanks Julie. 15-16 for the lottery funds, which are still state funds, but we break them out to show that there's an increase each year. There's about a 200,000 increase that we are estimating between the current fiscal year 14-15 and next fiscal year 15-16, so it's a total of about $2.9 million.
Are those prospective, or are those funds that have already been received?
The funds for this year that we've received or will receive by June 30th is about 2.6 million. This is prospective. This is an estimate for next year. So we're estimating about another two to 300,000. So the total base revenue without one-time dollars, this is just the ongoing money coming in, we have about $147 million coming in. Okay? So the total funds with one-time dollars, and I'll define that in a little bit, is $162 million. We have about $11 million in one-time dollars coming into the district, or at least we anticipate or estimate that based on the information that we have. The next page is just an overview of the last 2-year fiscal adopted budgets and where we believe we will be for 15-16 based on the information we have. And the 15-16 number includes the 11 in one-time dollars. So again, the 14.2 million is the total budget increase when it comes to the beginning balance, what's coming in, and where, and the one-time dollars that are coming in. So ongoing and one-time. Okay. Any questions so far?
Yeah, what about the actual numbers? Do we?
We'll get to that when we go through the
We're gonna look
tentative
at
budget.
those, okay.
Yeah. All right. So the next page is a breakdown of the one-time, and these are the the breakdown of the ongoing and the one-time, and these are the big buckets. This isn't everything, but these are the major areas of money or revenue that's coming in. So for the COLA was signed off as, I know it, at 1.02% for the system. That's $1.2 million for the district. Now, what I failed to say, and I should say, is that because we don't have the P2 and we don't have the advanced apportionment report, which doesn't come out until the end of July, these are estimates. And the district usually gets between 1.8 and 2% of the total system's amount of money. So if the system gets $100 million, we get between 1.8 and 2%. And the difference is dependent on how the other colleges are progressing throughout their fiscal year. So if other colleges are doing really well, then there's the potential we will get only about 1.8%. If they're not able to meet their targets and we are able to meet our targets and exceed our FTES growth, there's the potential for more money coming in, okay? And that's why we'll get about 2%. But these are just averages right
Is
now.
COLA indexed to any real number, or is that just something they pull out of the hat?
I think my honest answer is that I think it's something that they negotiate based on something they pull out of their hat.
Or
Because
someplace else.
If it's
Let's be
tied,
polite.
because if it's tied to the CPI, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that that's usually about 2 to 3%. So this is, I think, a negotiated amount, and they try to keep up with the CPI. All right, so access and growth. This is the first year that the system has a new growth formula. And based on that new growth formula, there are certain things that add up to what we have the ability to go after. So we have a constricted growth formula now. PCC's percentage, out of 3% that the system can grow, we can only grow 2.51%. Now, if we grow more than that, we have the risk of having unfunded FTES, which is normal. My understanding is that most community colleges try to go for 1 to 2% more. It's just good to go after as much as you can get and hope you get additional money. In our case, we go after as much as we can get, and many other community colleges are not able to meet their goals, and that money, instead of going back to the state, gets shifted around to the colleges that exceeded their growth.
At a
But
later date, or when does that
It's
happen?
usually, I think, at recalc, and recalc is usually, I think, in September, October.
Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
close and finalize our books before they can recalc and tell
Mhm.
us all those kinds of things.
There's
And that's
definitely
based
a
on
lag.
the census data too, from the.
The census,
when we do
the
that, or-
census data gives us our final numbers for each of our terms. So at the end of the year, when we do our projection for P2, which should be out tomorrow, we will have the information that we've reported based on the
Okay.
census.
So, okay, so
That makes
that's
sense?
arrears, yeah, so it comes in.
Kind of, sort of.
Like a year late?
I always thought it did. We've now gotten clarification that if we actually grow in the fiscal year where we say we're gonna grow, we
Uh-huh.
get the money in the
In
current
that year?
fiscal year.
Mm.
That is not what I've said before, because that's not how I understood it. Now, the recalc in September, October, November, whenever we get that, that is the finalization, from what I understand, of the previous year. So if for some reason other districts were not able to capture their growth, and we still have unfunded FTES, we may be able to get some of that.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So access and growth, we are restricted at 2.51%, so we had a maximum of $2.7 million that we can grow next fiscal year.
No, Joe, I didn't hear why we're restricted.
It's a new growth formula. So in 14-15, from what I understand, the trailer bill for growth for community colleges or K through 14 said, your growth formula has exceeded its period of time that it was in place. The community college system chancellor's office, you now need to put into effect a new growth formula. The chancellor's office had a task force that was making a number of different recommendations that were really good. And at the very last minute, from what I understand, the Department of Finance said, okay, all your work was wonderful, but this is how we're going to do it instead. So for the last year, there's been a negotiation back and forth on what will go into that growth formula. So underserved populations, unemployment is a factor. There are 4 factors, and I can run out and grab the sheet if you want me to, but there are 4 things that kind of go into it.
Yeah, but you said other colleges could grow 3%? Did you
Some colleges can grow up to 3%, some colleges in the system can only grow up to 1%.
And there
Yeah.
was, that was, I understand, a factor of colleges that were small and needed to grow.
Yeah. Well, the underlying factor is that we have a population that may not, may be underemployed, or they have unemployment. The areas that the community college serves may have a very high unemployment rate. So the idea is to funnel the money to the colleges where the population and the students can be best served.
So the College of the Redwoods would be one of those that's high unemployment.
Yes,
low.
yeah, yeah.
One thing that makes it kind of different for us is that so many of our students come from out of the district, like 70%. And so we're actually serving students that come from areas where there is a great need. Like LA got like something like a 5% growth. But they don't take into consideration that we actually pull tons of students from that area. And you can't say, and that was one of the things we were advocating when we went to the legislative meetings is we're trying to say we do support underrepresented populations. We do support people who are unemployed, and they're
So-
looking at our general area, our
Yeah.
our community, our this
At the
local
district.
community, and that isn't really who we serve.
So what happened, because that was a part of the conversation that took place over the last 6 to 9 months, was we are not just serving our district, we're serving other areas. And because Pasadena is such a popular college, people want to come here. The formula, I don't remember what the original break was, but let's say it was 25-75% split. In the new growth formula, what they were able to come up with, because the state said you have to have 50% of your money needs to go towards programs that will help the underserved or the underemployed or the unemployed. Well, the new formula isn't 25-75, it's 50% 0.1 and 49.9%. So that's kind of how they were able to address those types of concerns. But
We didn't like it, and we fought against it because we felt we have the ability to grow, where some places like LA, they're not gonna be able to get that 5% growth.
yeah.
We
And
can.
Pasadena, in this current fiscal year, I think we grew about 7.8%, and that was higher, I think, than every other community college. The concern is, will we be funded for all of that? At P1, we had about 200 FTES that was unfunded. The good thing about that is that it was within our 1 or 2% that we generally go after as growth that we know we may not be funded for. And the other good thing is that if the other community colleges are not able to capture their growth, we will get that money. And I'm confident, I believe at least today, tomorrow may be a different day, but we will get that growth. Because the reports I'm seeing is that the other community colleges are either right at where they were last year in growth, or they didn't quite make it, and we exceeded.
I went to a conference recently where there were union leaders from other independent colleges, and all of them were saying that they were unable to meet their growth targets.
Yeah. So the other impact for us is that when I called the chancellor's office and I asked about our unfunded FTES, hey Jeff, kind of a side comment was, you know, the expenses are, no, the expansion is going down, but the expenses are going up. And what that means to me is that we have the ability, or colleges have the ability to borrow some of their FTES from the next fiscal year to help their current budget. We don't have to do that. But that might be a reason why some of the FTES is going down, but the expense is going up, which makes the pool of money that's still out there smaller. But we do have the potential of receiving some funds for the unfunded FTES. I feel like we're in a good place. Tomorrow, we'll okay. All right, so the non-credit career development college prep or CDCP rate equalization, and actually Beverly, can you do me a favor? For the next BRAC meeting, maybe we'll bring in P2 and we'll tie all of these things back and show everybody where these things are. So the credit rate is currently about $4,600. The CDCP or the non-credit, or I'm sorry, the career development credit preparation rate, there are 3 different rates. There's CDCP, non-credit, and credit. The majority of our funding comes in from the credit rate. It's about $4,600. The CDCP, I want to say, is about $3,000. We have very little business in that category. And our non-credit rate is about $2,600, and we have very little business in that category. The state has made a decision to make the CDCP rate the same rate as the credit rate. So for colleges like us that don't have a lot of programs that can capture those dollars, that may be an area of growth for us. So they're now going to increase that rate to at least $4,600 and change. Yeah.
Can you cover one more time what the non-credit rate is?
It's, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's about $2,300. And I can give that to you later. Who knows?
I don't know. So I think it's around 2,600. But
Okay.
so what percentage of what we do over at CEC comes under non-credit, and what percentage is under the CDCP?
Percentages, I don't know.
Okay.
But FTES, I want to say it's about 900 in non-credit and probably a couple hundred in CDCP versus our credit, which is probably about 20,000.
21, over 21.
Yeah. And when we bring in the P2 at the next meeting, we can walk through that because it actually has the breakdown of the FTES.
Is the CDCP, is that the new courses that were put through
I believe so, yeah.
recently?
Yeah, some of them are courses that have been in place and some of them are new.
So,
Well, a whole lot of new ones just went through.
So,
These are
but the-
non-credit.
Yes.
Yeah.
but the amount that is non-credit at the lowest rate is a very small percentage of even what's over at CEC. You said 900 and 200.
The
So-
majority of the non-credit comes out of CEC.
Yeah, no, I know, but the CDCP makes up most of the FTES that we get from.
The non-credit is about 900 FTES and the CDCP is, I think, about 200 FTES.
Okay.
That's all the parenting classes, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are we able to turn this on? Do you mind doing that? Do you mind doing that? Maybe we can pull up the last report, the P1 report. All right, so while Beverly's doing that, we'll keep going. So operating costs. So there's been conversation this year for 15-16. Okay, then we'll go back. For 15-16, they're going to increase the base apportionment. So we're trying to figure out what the calculation is. We're asking our counterparts at other community colleges what that calculation is. But the credit rate is going to go from approximately $4,600 per FTES to up to, we think, about $4,800 per FTES, which is a significant amount of money coming in for us.
I saw some information on EdSource that had it at 6,300.
I can only hope and pray.
Yeah.
And you know what, to
I'm
be
sorry,
honest
I
with
missed
you.
what did you say the FTES was going up to?
No, the operating
Oh.
cost, the credit rate of 4,600 is gonna go up based on our current calculations, and again, they're just estimates, to probably about $4,800 and change. If Mary Erin is correct, and I hope she is, it looks like it may go up to about $6,200,
There are
$6,300.
bigger numbers floating around.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
which is
I
wonderful.
can't remember though,
63
because they had,
And it was on
63.79.
EdSource.
they
Can you
had
forward
K,
it to me?
they had K through 12 mixed in with K, K
With
through
us.
14, yeah,
Uh-huh.
with colleges, so I can't remember.
I think what
I
I
don't
saw,
know
they were
that that was-
separate.
I can't remember what that rate represented.
K-12's already what, like 12,000, something like that?
I think so. like 12 to 14,000.
Yeah.
They've just had like all the college numbers. I can't remember what was.
So all of this stuff will actually, now that the governor has signed the budget, will actually be available to us on July 30th, when we get the advanced apportionment report for fiscal year 15-16. All of those new rates will be spelled out for us, which is good. I hope it goes up to 6,300. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so for us, our estimate is that the increase in rate at the 200, and I think we estimated $232 per FTES, based on the number of FTES that we have, that's an additional $5 million for PCC. Okay. The full-time faculty, when we did this presentation and we submitted it for the public report, we were estimating, I'm not sure.
This is the only remote I've seen that besides this one.
Epson,
Jeff, do you know how to set this up?
Epson.
We used to have a different remote.
It's over there.
So at the time we did this report, our estimate, the 1.8% for full-time faculty on the bucket of $75 million for the system, we were assuming we would get $1.3 million. That bucket, between this presentation and today, went from $75 million down to 67 or 69 million. And the full-time faculty money that we're getting is going to be based on a quintile type of funding system, which means that if we are closer to our full-time faculty obligation number, we will not get as much money as other districts that are not as close. Between last week and this week, I heard that we are not getting $1.35 million. We'll be getting about $400,000, but we haven't seen anything yet. So right now, we're going with the 1.3 because that's our estimate. It will be corrected and hopefully will go up by the time we do the adopted budget.
And again, the purpose of this money is to,
It is for districts to get closer to the 75-25% split
Okay.
to get us to the FOE. My understanding is, and I haven't seen the language yet, and what I've been told is that the state legislature and the governor are trying to get the budget approved. They'll figure out all of the processes afterwards. Backwards to me, but it is what it is. So it's meant to hire more full-time faculty. If for some reason we were at our full-time faculty obligation number, whatever money we got in, we would be able to use for other operational costs, which is good.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. So the ongoing revenues is about $10.8 million. The one-time funds, the districts, or K through 14, the state is giving the system a bucket of money to pay back any back-owed dollars. So the deferrals, anything related to money that's owed to the district, mandated dollars. If we had an audit, so we have a recycling program here on campus. The state comes in and they audit us. They have sent us letters, a number of letters, a stack of letters saying, we owe you money. When we get it, we'll give it to you. So maybe they owe us $1 million, but we haven't been getting it for the last few years. So this will take care of all of those mandated monies that are owed to us. What that means for us is that we have estimated out of the bucket about $11.3 million for PCC. These are one-time dollars. They should only be used for one-time expenses, like if we need a new car in a fleet, we should do that. If we need a new computer system for some reason, it's a one-time cost, we should do those types of things. It's not meant for ongoing dollars for benefits or increases or hiring new staff, because those continue to cost money over time. Okay. Okay. The next page, this is where we have a breakdown of the increases for ongoing expenses, and it's 3 pages long. And again, these are just estimates. Once we get the renewal rates for benefits and we get the renewal rates for property and liability coverage, we will actually go in and do the actual cost instead of doing an estimate across the board. So for benefits, Anthem Blue Cross, whether it's the PPO or the HMO, and Kaiser, Kaiser was a reduction in benefit cost of 5%, which is great. The PPO had an increase of 7%, which is pretty good. And the PPO had an increase of 12%, which is very good. But in total, based on the average across the board right now, it's an increase of $3.8 million. But I believe that's a little inflated. So as we get to the adopted budget, we'll actually carve it out and make sure that it's what it is supposed to be. The CalSTRS increase for 15-16, in 14-15 it was 8.88%, it went up to 10.73%. This is something the district has to watch out for over the next 4 years. In last year's adopted budget presentation, we showed a 5-year history based on the estimated increases each year. Our CalSTRS contribution, mandated contribution that the district has to pay for, looks like it's going to double. So last year we paid $5 million. By 2017-18, I think it was going to go up to $10 million. So this is the line that we have to be very careful about in the future
And
years
that's only for the defined benefit program, right?
for CalSTRS, your retirement program.
Well, no, but there's a defined benefit and the defined contribution, the supplemental. Does it go for both plans equally?
Well, I know for PERS, the new people have a different kind of blended kind of thing, like a 401k, and a part of it is the old PERS. I don't know about
You're talking about the
STRS,
pension too?
The defined contribution
Right.
and the supplemental.
This is just for the people who were in the old system.
Defined, we have a defined benefit, right? We have
We have both.
Yeah.
We have two.
Oh,
Well, there's the supplemental, but
Yeah.
this is for the defined
Yeah.
benefit, because the
Yes.
supplemental is only part of this sometimes, or what you do over a full year's
Right.
service.
yeah, so it's mostly, I think it's mostly defined benefit.
Okay.
Not-
Oh, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying, because they're gonna have to contribute for the part that goes to supplemental as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, and
This-
the rules of engagement, are different in terms of what the faculty keep. On the defined benefit, we only get into the district's contributions after our contributions have been exhausted. But defined contribution, we acquire both the district's match and our contributions at the outset.
But your calculation of this is based on
Just a
Oh.
percentage. It's
Yeah,
based on
based on
everything.
all payout to all faculty.
Yeah.
So that would include the supplemental, because whatever you do over your full year goes into your supplemental,
All right.
but they're having to match it, so.
So,
it's not gonna go up.
This is just the employer mandated cost, so I think you're right.
There was talk about the state was gonna come in and backfill the increased cost to districts for this.
We'll get to it. Yeah. So the one-time dollars, the intention, as I understand it, is that the one-time dollars are meant to be given to the districts, and the districts are meant to manage their own money.
Okay.
So we have a plan, so I'll walk you through that in a
There'll be
second.
revision.
Yeah, but either way, this is one line in the budget that's going to significantly increase
Yeah.
over the next few years. So CalPERS, we were actually expecting to go up last year about $250,000-300,000. For whatever reason, the percentage only went up less than 0.1%. So it went from 11.771 to 11.847. It's only going to cost the district an increase of about $20,000. Okay.
Aren't these increases scheduled? That was when the legislature, or when?
Yeah. And we have that. Last year's
Right,
adopted
right,
budget, we
right.
had the breakdown, but
So it was less?
it was
Okay.
less. So
Why'd
last
that
year,
happen?
we believe it's because when they did their actuarial, it probably was not as
Ah.
bad as they originally
Right.
thought.
And the legislature
maybe-
used even numbers, and it's never
Yeah.
even numbers.
Well, and maybe there were changes in the market too, that some investments
Maybe.
changed. Okay.
Yeah, don't have a
Okay.
real answer for you,
Alright,
that's my
alright,
guess.
okay.
Okay, so in additional ongoing expenses, so the fiscal year 15-16 supplemental early retirement program, the district pays a portion of that money. It's gonna cost us $526,000 a year for 5 years. And this, I think, is either the 4th or the 5th CERT, and they last 5 years. The original CERT that we offered was the biggest that the district had. It cost the district about $1 million. That payment, the 15-16 year, is the last year of that payment for the first CERT. So in 16-17, we will have about $1 million coming back to the district for operational expenses, which is good. Reserves for salary increases. Again, this was just a estimate across the board. It's about $3.6 million.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Where would the savings for the CERT be?
Well, if it were up to me, what I would recommend is that it go into supply lines for the district, because we had to cut those back quite a bit. I would recommend.
What is the supply line?
So if you needed models for some reason in your classrooms, or if you needed software, those
No,
are
but
supplies.
I mean the number. Where would that number?
In the budget.
I'll show you in the tentative budget, yeah. So in the tentative budget, it's about $2 million for the 5 plans. Next year, it should be about $1 million, and I'll show you where that
Yeah,
line
but,
is.
we don't have a line for savings though. Because when we replace an old faculty person like yours truly with a newbie, it costs us about half as much.
Right. So you'll
So-
see in the tentative budget, so the 36 faculty that are retiring this year, you will see a reduction in the faculty salaries line.
Oh, okay.
And then that money is just being used in other lines where it's needed.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and remind me and I'll show you. So fiscal year 15-16 step and column increases. So everybody in the district has, depending on the group you're in, either a step and or a column increase. This is a estimated amount of money for the district. What we also put in here were things that we found out this year being involved in the budget and in fiscal services. We saw that many areas of the district are doing things that we did not account for in the budget. So if there's some areas that have late night hours, the staff will get a differential for working after 5 p.m. If there is some area that has 10-month faculty, but the area wants to make the 10-month faculty either an 11 or 12-month faculty, we did not previously have money in the budget for that. We just, at the end of the year, the bottom line worked, it was great. We are now trying to account for those types of things so we don't have to worry at the end of the year or search for money.
And that,
What
and
if
so,
areas make 10-month faculty, 11-month faculty without a contract discussion?
Don't know. I would ask I can give you some examples. I'm not sure.
And another thing that comes out of here.
counselors are.
I'm sorry?
No, oh, I didn't know if you guys were finished. The other thing that probably comes out of here, or should come out of here, is when they do evaluations on your, evaluations on, mostly it's classified people, where they evaluate what they do, and if they increase them. If they move them from like range 47 to range 52, that is not accounted for in the budget anywhere. So that
So-
would be something that,
So CTEA, what is your group, Julio? CFT?
CFT.
CFT, I think, confidentials in their labor agreement, and well, you probably CFT. Some of the labor contracts have negotiated the ability to have a classification review done annually, and it's up to the staff to submit the classification questionnaire, and then a consultant comes in and they do a desk audit review or a review of documents. This year, I think we had about 20 or 25 people, more than that. We had a group of people.
Like 50.
I don't think it was that high.
It was
It
like
was at
50
least
applied,
40.
and
It was
maybe
at least
20,
40
25
people.
got it.
Okay, so about 20, 25 people, after the process was completed, there were about 20, 25 people who had a increase in their pay or their title changed. Previously, we did not account for those increases in the budget. Again, at the end of the year, everything was great, it wasn't a big deal. We're now trying to account for those things.
So it's all part of step and call.
Yes, yeah. Statewide Association of Community Colleges, this is SWAC, this is our coverage for property and liability. Before we did the tentative budget, we were informed by Keenan that our increase would be approximately 15%. While they've gone through their renewals for the year, and because we're a part of a pool, even though our district's risk exposure went up this year, the pool as a whole actually went down. So we were told 15%, which was $135,000. We're now being told when we get the renewal, it will actually be less than what we paid in 14-15, and it may be about $100,000 left. If that's actually the case when we get the renewal, this $135,000 can go back into the budget for things like supplies or consultants and that kind of stuff. So the Faculty Association this year was able to negotiate with the administration additional adjunct office hours. The estimate for that for this fiscal year is about $500,000. So now we're putting that into the budget to make sure that that's covered. This is the first year that the Affordable Care Act is going into effect, where we have part-time employees who work an average of 30 hours a week. We have to offer them some form of medical benefits or medical coverage. We are estimating, our original estimate was about $3 million, and that was an assumption based on, say, half of our part-time faculty would need medical benefits. Not everybody does, because maybe they're married and their spouse has them on their coverage, maybe they just waive their coverage, maybe they're going through the California Healthcare Exchange to purchase their own. It's just an estimate right now. And because our policy is from October through September, This is a reflection of 9 months rather than 12 full months. So we're not over inflating the benefits line of the budget. Yeah,
Is it possible that this $500,000 is exaggerated,
it could be.
like double,
I'm sorry?
like double?
I don't think doubled. It might be a little high, but I wouldn't think it would be that high.
We can talk about it.
Yeah. And so again, please remember the tentative is based on estimates, and we are being conservative with the revenue, and we are estimating high in the expenses because we don't have P2 and we don't have the advance report. By the time the adopted budget goes in, these numbers should be much closer to where they need to be. Okay. All right. So the Affordable Care Act is going to cost, we believe, about $2.2 million. The retiree benefits, and I do want to point this out. So on the previous page, we had our healthcare benefits going up about $3.5 million. I believe, and we have not looked into it yet, but I believe we double counted the $700,000 by mistake. So that may be another $700,000 that will go back into the budget, into the operational lines, but we need to make sure. This
And the folks
700.
that are post-65 pay their own benefits. right?
Correct. But because we have a large group of people who are not 65, that's why we put that in here. This year in 14-15, this line of the budget was underestimated by $700,000. And then when we did the average for the benefits across the board, that's why I think it's double counted, but it will be checked for sure. Lacania doesn't think so, I think so, so we need to go back and look.
I had a question. When people are past 65, and do we still give them money?
Yeah,
$400
1440.
a year. $1440.
It's the gas
Per year, yeah.
But that
That's
hasn't
just-
changed.
That's tiny compared to the full benefits, right, yeah.
The software license, the multi-user, this is something that we have always had, and as we've grown, our population has grown, we've had the need to have more services related to IT. This is both for faculty and for students. The problem is that we've never fully funded it. So what we're trying to accomplish here is make sure that what we spend each year is actually what we're funding. For whatever reason, it was just underfunded. Funding of new and previously frozen positions. We have a need to fill about $3.8 million worth of positions. That's not something that we can afford to do. So what we put into the budget was $1 million, and then there will be, between now and the adopted budget, a determination of what positions can be filled. And this is more of the classified, not the faculty.
What
The
about
36
management? Is it just classified and faculty?
Some of these would be management as well.
How's that, sort of percentage-wise, how's that
I
rough
don't know.
out, do you know?
I don't know. I would say it's probably 20% management, 80% classified.
And when you say new and previously frozen,
So
is that?
for example, we had
What's
the
that?
dean of special services, so psychological services for students and staff and EAP and all of that. It's been vacant for the last year. We froze it down because that position, the person in that position took the CERT. And so we kept it frozen for a year to make sure that the savings that we anticipated were actually there. However, the new position, let's say in my office, I have a request for a risk manager. We have no centralized risk services. We have CHA, who does workers' compensation, which is a form of risk management, but we have no risk services. We have no umbrella for safety. We have no foundation for facilities inspections and those types of things, which reduces the money that may go out through slips and falls or trips, or somebody's driving a cart or one of our vehicles and they get into an accident. If you have a risk manager in place, then this curve of payouts starts to go down and level off. That would be a new position.
Okay, I guess I wasn't wondering so much specifically about risk management, but maybe what's the proportion of new positions, and do they also tend to be in classified?
Yeah.
It's usually, I think it's usually classified or like a management position. This is not really faculty, because faculty has a process.
Yeah, so I think to
Right.
answer your question.
Well,
I
right,
would
we have a
guess-
process, and I would think we'd wanna have a process for other positions
We do.
as well.
So
And-
we do, and that those other positions, there are two things. The frozen positions, about $3.8 million. We can't afford to do that. So we set aside $1 million and we'll prioritize. The process through the budget process that when everyone went through a few months ago, actually told us we have about $10 million worth of requests for new positions. And that's for both the cost of the salary and for the benefits. $10 million, not gonna happen. So we do have a process, but we just don't have the money coming in.
Mhm.
So then it needs to be prioritized. Does that answer your question? Kind of, sort of?
Mhm.
Should we move on, or do you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't have
All right. So those are the ongoing increased expenses. These are the one-time dollars. So those mandated dollars, that 11.2 million, this is how we're recommending these dollars be spent for the tentative budget. Hopefully with P2 and the advanced apportionment, more ongoing dollars will come in. If that happens, then that $5 million gap that I talked about when we first began, we had 10 million ongoing coming in, we have $15 million of expenses going out. We covered the hole with the one-time dollars, which is not something that we should be doing. So if we get more money at P2 in revenue, and we have higher revenue dollars next year at the advanced apportionment, that $5 million, we had to use 3.4 out of the one-time to cover the hole. We will return the $3.4 million for one-time costs. The difference between the 3.4 and the $1 million was us going through and, for lack of a better word, reducing line items in the budget in operational areas. Does that make sense?
No, your last paragraph there, you lost me.
I
So
I feel like
You
I'm on
said
the
you
wrong
started
page
out,
here.
you started out with 10 million more and.
We had for next year $10 million of additional additional ongoing money coming in.
Okay,
At the tentative, we have estimates of $15 million in increases of ongoing expenses. The difference of $5 million, we had to use $3.4 million to balance the tentative budget from one-time dollars. That's
Okay.
not recommended.
okay.
The difference of.
That's the last item on
Yes.
this list?
The
Okay.
difference of the 1.6 million, that 5 and this 3.4, we went through the budget and the operational lines and we said, okay, here are college assistants in John Wood's area. Sorry.
Yes,
But maybe they had a request for $200,000, they're getting $180,000 instead. So we had to reduce about $1.6 million in the operational budget to balance. So as the P2 comes in, if there's more money to start off the beginning balance for next fiscal year, and at the advanced apportionment in July, if it looks like our revenues are higher than what we projected, and they probably will be because we were conservative, we would take this $3.4 million, move it back into expenses that are one time, and we would use those ongoing dollars to cover that gap of the 3.4 to $5 million.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Sure. All right, so I'm sorry, I went straight to the bottom, but the 11.2 or 11.3 million dollars of one-time costs, we're recommending that they be broken down in this way. So the future CalSTRS and CalPERS increases, because it is such a concern, we're putting aside $500,000 to offset future costs so we don't have to take it out of that year's budget. And so we're kind of creating a savings account, so to speak.
Is that gonna go into a different fund?
There's talk right now about creating a different fund. Our auditors are saying that's not necessary and maybe not recommended. So in the tentative budget, when we walk through, we have the line for reserves for contingencies, which is locked, and we have to go to the board to get approved to use those dollars. We may create another line like that for this. And we'll probably call it employer mandated costs. All right, so this year we went to the board for reserves for contingencies to do retroactive increases. We are planning to pay that back. We went into reserves for 3.8 million. We're hoping to pay back 1.5 million out of the one-time costs. The workers' compensation fund, in fiscal year 10-11, we had a audit adjustment, and for whatever reason, it had not been fixed yet.
So I got a question. So if it turns out that the budget ends and we didn't take out of the reserves 3.5 million, maybe we took none, maybe we took $1 million, are we still gonna put the whole $1.5 million in there?
The recommendation that I have is that we refund the reserves for contingencies to the previous level, which was $7 million. Right now, there's about $4 million in there. So we're hoping to pay that back to get it back to the $7 million over the next 2 to 3
$7 million
years.
in addition to the $12.5 million,
Yeah.
so $19.5 million.
Correct.
Okay, so if we're, again, the projections were that we were gonna, I think, take out of that reserve or whatever, about $3.5 million, right?
3.8.
3.8. So whatever amount we didn't go in debt for that 3.8, are we gonna still put this back in?
Yes, we went in the full 3.8.
So what if you put 1.5 in and it puts us, you know for sure? We can,
Yes.
okay, you got final numbers?
The numbers that we shared with you were the numbers.
for the retros.
I didn't think this last year is finished, though.
It's not finished, but we paid all the retros. So we have final.
So that 3.8 was actually the full amount that we needed in addition to more for the retros.
But you haven't completed all the numbers for this last fiscal year yet.
We're only one pay cycle away from the close of
Okay.
the fiscal year.
But I think the retros are completed.
No, I know,
He's talking
but
about the
the
full-
budget as a whole.
Right.
I mean, they assume that this, but lots of times there's all kinds of excess in all the other parts, so
Yeah.
you could end up not even being in.
I hear what you're saying.
negative.
So
But this
at
money
P2,
was paid, but this was strictly for retro.
Yeah, so at P2, let's say, we think we think there will be enough to break even at the end of this fiscal year. If for some reason we have another $5 million that we weren't expecting, which is unlikely, then we would use that $5 million to plug holes in the budget. This may be one of those areas. So we would want to get back to the $7 million for reserves for contingencies rather than the 3.4 or whatever is in there now.
Okay, so 19.5 million in reserves is what you're basically, and then anything above that would go back into the funds.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Unless we are told differently. But yeah, that's the plan.
But would you pay it all in next year? Or
It
would you?
depends. If we don't get if we have to use these one-time dollars, that's not ideal. So if we have more money coming in, then we would do the reserves for contingencies at this amount, or maybe a little more to get us close to the 7 million. But the goal for us should not be to use one-time dollars, because that creates a bigger problem down the line. If we have more money coming in that's ongoing, then we should take care of this line at the bottom of this page before we
Yeah.
do anything
Okay,
else.
so I get that, I get this, but what I'm saying is because we spent way more than this 1.5 million on the retros, I feel like this is a foregone conclusion. Like this is something that will happen.
It should, yes. But what Danny's asking is if we get a bigger bucket of money that, let's say it's 5 million and it wipes out this 3.4,
Mm-hmm.
then the recommendation is we put this 1.5 million in reserves for contingencies, but maybe the difference goes back to the other areas that we had to cut, that 1.6 million in supplies and consultants. Or do we put the full amount back into reserves for contingencies, instead of paying it back 2 to 3 years, we pay it back right away? I really don't think that's a conversation that's gonna need to happen this year. I think we're gonna be okay, but it's not gonna be a huge bucket of money at P2.
And the county is still our
Treasurer.
banker of mandate, right?
Yeah. I don't know that they're if we become independent, we can do something
We
different.
can do other things, because we're getting like a less than 1% rate of return on our money, and if we're building a bigger reserves. It seems like some point we're gonna get to where we need to have the ability to write checks.
The ideal plan was during the integration of Lancer Point was to use the systems to show, because you have to show a 2-year history that you're able to have independent systems. So the idea was when we implemented Lancer Point that we would have 2 years to kind of get us through that process. It was too much. We couldn't do everything all at once. So now that Lancer Point is kind of smoothing out a little bit, then we need to revisit it. But it's going to be a 2-year process, and LACO, from what I understand, has the ultimate authority of saying whether or not we become independent or not. Yeah, but it's not the rate of return or the interest is, you're right, is I think less than 1%. All right, so workers' compensation fund. In fiscal year 10-11, our auditors came in and they identified that we did not report something or record something correctly. And so it showed that we had a audit adjustment of about $2 million, $2.5 million. So these one-time dollars will allow us to correct the fund balance in workers' compensation to make it balance out to zero, and it allows us to put $1 million into the fund to pay for claims throughout the year. And our claims each year are probably close to, if not a little more than $1 million. So this is to correct something that has been incorrect for a number of years.
And that's a self-insurance fund.
Correct. Other post-employment benefits, or GASB 43 or 45 obligation. This is the $1440 amount. Right now, we're just recommending, or we recommended $500,000. Again, this was a little underfunded, but based on our actuaries, it's maybe $1 million or $2 million, if I remember correctly, underfunded. And this will add to the fund balance there. It'll help us in the long run.
Is that fund balance going down?
It goes down each year because we're paying out the 1440, but it's already underfunded. Fund 29, Capital Servicing Fund. This is a very small fund that the district has. It's actually the money that pays for our leases for equipment. It was the fund when we built the parking lot, I think it's parking lot 5, and we had the bond. That money that came in from parking revenue paid for the bond for that parking structure. This is also the fund that pays for the Lancer Point leased equipment. So we're just putting a little bit of money in to make sure that it's balanced for the next 3 to 4 years.
Where does the payback for the Measure P funds?
We don't pay for that. The residents of Pasadena Area Community College during their taxes pay for it.
So that's all done by the counties?
It's a different type of bond, yeah. So Fund 63, the dental coverage self-insurance fund was underfunded $130,000, so we're putting $130,000 in. The Centennial Facilities Master Plan, this is a one-time dollar amount for the HGA architects projects that was approved several months ago. This is not something that will continue over a number of years. This is just the planning phase, okay? And then, again, to balance out the tentative budget, we had to use about 3.4 of the one-time dollars, and we will revisit that hopefully with the adopted budget.
So, Fund 41, replenishment of facilities and information technology.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
So Fund 41 is the fund that takes care of our technology refresh program. It pays for all of the different facilities-related projects, whether it's carpet or building out new space for new programs. That is not something that is funded by any other source of revenue. So the district puts the money into that fund each year to make sure that we're able to pay for certain projects. At the end of 15-16, there will be about $2 million in that fund, and we need to fund it to continue to be able to do upgrades or remodels or refurbishments for future years.
So there, at the end of this next year, there'll be about 2 million, and this is then gonna make it about 3 million, or?
So the end of this fiscal year, 14-15, I believe we have about $5 million in the fund. We are recommending at the adopted budget about $3 million worth of projects between IT and facilities. And those projects are being worked out right now. So at the end of next year, 15-16, this time in 15-16, we should have about $2 million in the fund, and we're putting in $950. So at the beginning of 16-17, there'll be about $3 million in the fund.
Okay.
And this is separate from the deferred maintenance fund?
It is, yeah. All right, in the next page, page 8, these are the non-Fund 1 revenues. So the purpose of taking the tentative budget to the board in June is to make sure that on July 1st, we have approval to pay our bills. We have the ability to sign off on contracts, to establish purchase orders, to pay for the lights and the water. It is not to give them a breakdown of the other funds, like Fund 41 for facilities, or Fund 63, or Fund 629 for whatever. But these are additional grant-funded dollars that we're gonna get, and we just wanted to highlight it because they are large amounts of money. So the Triple SP, or the Student Success and Support Program, we have the potential of taking up to $1.8 million. The concern there is that for every dollar that we get from the state, the district has to find $2 to match. So if we get $1 million, we have to find $2 million.
Is that Pathways?
No. No. Pathways is a different funding source.
So what is SSSP?
All of the student learning services, so anything under Cynthia Oliva's umbrella.
But it's not equity.
It's not equity.
Right.
Equity is separate. There is no match. There was no match in 14-15. We believe that there will be no match in 15-16. If that holds up, then we have the ability to collect about $2 million out of that bucket of money.
So this is new, this is 15-16
Yes.
money?
Yeah. The programs.
And we had in 14-15, it was 1.5?
It was close to these numbers.
It was close to 2 million?
For the triple SP, it was close to the 1.8.
Oh.
For the
uh-huh.
student equity,
Uh-huh.
it should have been close to about 2 million. It was probably about $1.8 million for each of the funds.
So are you saying that we have to spend 3.6 million to get this 1.8 million? And
Yes.
is that 3.6 million in the budget somewhere?
It
or no?
is.
Oh.
It's not what I would call real dollars. So if the work that you and I are doing can be charged against the triple SP program, that's how you make up the match. So if we're doing something that supports student programs, then a portion or all of our salaries could go towards that. Our salaries, our benefits, that kind of stuff. So the reason why I say we may get up to $1.8 million is because we may not be able to do the match, and we may not be able to collect the 1.8.
But the way you would do the match is based on the budget. You would find parts that you could attribute to that and then do the match from it.
Right. We would
And-
not look for additional dollars
So,
to do the match.
just to drill down a little bit then, so, the increase in adjunct faculty office hours, would that be something we qualify for the match?
I don't know. That's a good point. I can ask Dr. Olivo, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Equity.
we've heard that it
Equity,
could be.
people are using it
Well, for
everywhere
equity,
Yeah,
across the
that's
that's
state.
not a match.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we also have the ability to get about $900,000 for CTE, deferred maintenance and instructional equipment. This is the bucket of the money that the state is giving the system. And again, the 1.8 to 2% estimate, we will get about 2.7 million. We internally have the ability to say how that money should be spent. So we're looking at potentially $1 million for instructional equipment in the classrooms, and the balance of 1.6 million going towards the deferred maintenance. And if I remember correctly, our deferred maintenance needs are probably about $99 million. So million won't go.
That's including a new building over
Right, is
there?
it you building?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna
That's
ask
actually not.
about, yeah.
The new building bond, from what I understand, did not collect enough signatures, or for some reason did not make it. But they're
Oh.
not giving up on the effort. It just won't make it for the next.
Local. A
Statewide.
local, statewide,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Um,
wasn't there was some talk about having, maybe that's what you're talking about, is the building, the funds for the building? Was that the
So-
bond, or was there something else?
That's the bond, the state
Okay.
bond. The potential of us using the facilities, Centennial Facilities Master Plan, if there's a bond that goes out for us to build up the campus, we could, I think, use money for that project, but it has to be outlined in the actual Centennial Facilities Master Plan bond.
Bond, right.
The problem there is that if we use those dollars for that building, then we lose out on the opportunity of getting the money from the state.
Mm.
And we really want the money from the state, so our bond can actually go towards other projects across the
Mhm.
campus.
The library was funded by the state, for instance.
Mhm.
So it's just another area of revenue for us. Not revenue, but funding.
How would we know when we might get money from the state?
I can ask Ruben, but I think it's potentially gonna go on the, not the 16, I'll have to find out. It could be on like the 17 or 18 election cycle. But I can ask
Okay.
for it. All right, so other additional grant-funded revenue for basic skills and student outcomes transformation program, we estimate about $1 million. Prop 39, which are the energy efficiency funding, we estimate about $700,000. Adult education, the AB 86 grant award, my understanding is that we asked for $3.3 million for this grant. It turns out, after we turned in the grant, that the bucket of money was much larger. And questions that we have right now are, do we have the ability to go after more, or are we stuck with what we asked for? And that question hasn't been answered yet, but right now what we're putting into the tentative budget is what we asked for, because we believe that we will get that.
And that's because the state's moving adult ed out of the high schools now and into the CCs.
I think there's a separation. The bucket, I think, is about 500 million. 325 or 375 is an MOE. And then the difference of the $125 million is where we have the question. We thought this $3.2 million was out of that bucket, and we didn't think it was going to be that large. And now we're hearing it's not only larger than we thought, but it actually may be aside from this 3.2 million. So the 3.2 million may be a part of the 375 that's the MOE. We need to figure that out.
What's an
So-
MOE?
Memorandum of
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Even,
Just never heard of it before.
Yeah. I said MOE on purpose, Julie.
MOU?
No,
No.
I think
You don't mean- you mean-
there's a such thing as,
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know what it is.
All right, so that's the PowerPoint. I want to walk you guys through this chart really fast, and then we'll go into the tentative budget. This is, again, because we don't have the P2 and it's not time for the advanced apportionment report yet. We took what happened when the governor proposed the budget back in January, which is in the yellow columns, what the May revised told us, and we still don't know yet what was signed off on in the budget. We should have that very soon. But in the peach colored column, that is the current fiscal year, what was actually signed off for in the adopted budget. And then again, those three columns are what we're working through this year. So look at the May revised, the two blue columns. We're conservative with the revenue using 1.8% instead of a different number. The cost of living adjustment is $61 million, 1.02%. That for us is 1.2 million, which ties back to the number in the PowerPoint. The enrollment growth apportionment is a new bucket of 156 million on top of what already the system had. We are again restricted at that 2.51% growth, which is about 2.8 million for us. The Student Success and Support Program, these are the grant dollars. These are not ongoing dollars for us, but 1.8 million. Student Equity, $2 million. The Career Development College Prep, or CDCP, the bucket is 49 million to increase that rate to match the credit. We think it's about $430,000 for PCC. The apprenticeship program, it's a grant. We put in $0 because it's not a guarantee funding revenue for us, stream of revenue.
And it's restricted.
And it is restricted. The operating cost, this is the increase in base apportionment that we're trying to figure out. Currently, the credit rate is 4,600. We think our estimate is about 4,800 and change. We're reading that it could be up to 6,300, but our bucket would be, based on the estimate, about $5.2 million.
But
The-
it could be closer to 70.
Depending on how they calculate it, because the bucket is no more than that 266 million. It's all about the calculation. So this is where we need to go back and correct this now that the budget has been negotiated. The full-time faculty, in May, it was 75 million. That's now dropped to, I think, 62 or 65 or 67 million. We wouldn't get the 1.3. We're hearing it's about 400,000. We just don't know yet. The categorical program COLA increases, so this is for like EOP&S. They haven't gotten COLAs in a number of years, so the system's actually getting money. It's only about $45,000 for us. So the left side of this page actually was cut off. I apologize for that, but it actually showed whether or not, it showed what fund the money was going in. Fund 1, Fund 3, what have you. So this breakdown at the bottom actually just totals the fund totals. So Fund 1, that 10.8 ties back to the PowerPoint. Fund 3 is 3.9. The next matrix under one-time funds, we talked about this. The CTE education, we think about 864,000 will come in. The mandated backlog money for K through 14, our portion we believe is about 11.3. The deferred maintenance and instructional equipment, 2.7. Basic skills and student outcomes, $1 million. The remaining deferrals, we, depending on who you ask, we're given different information. You're gonna get everything in June, you're not gonna get anything starting next year. The bucket is 94 million, which we think means it's about 1.8 million for us. We couldn't get a straight answer, so we just put 0. It'll be fixed by the time the adopted budget happens. Innovation awards, this is a grant.
Quick question, procedure. The board votes on the budget, they voted last meeting, right?
Mhm.
And that's on a tentative budget. Do
Right.
they have a second vote on an adopted budget?
Yes, September 2nd.
Oh.
And what happens in between those two public meetings is prior to the public meeting, we have the Brown Act meeting with the budget committee of the board. And that's Dr. Fellow, Dr. Selvage, and Mr. Martin. Thank you. And they come in and we walk them through the same information that we're walking through right now. All right. So at the very bottom, it says other. These are the other props that come in that we get some money for. So Prop 39, we're getting about 700,000. The AB 86 grant, that 3.3 million. The Career Technical Education Incentive Grant, we don't know if we're going to go after it, so we just put 0 for now. Okay. So that ties back to the PowerPoint. And now the tentative budget ties back to that sheet and the PowerPoint presentation. So again, these three sheets are just a breakdown of the large bucket amounts in the tentative budget. We were trying to make things a little easier for everybody because everybody wanted to know what the money was meant for. So we can refer back to this in a second, but go to your tentative budget. On page 4 and page 5, these are the buckets of money that are revenue. The federal dollars, $151,000. The state money, $102,000. And we added a line under the
Whoa,
state.
whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah,
slow
we're
down.
on-
Sorry, I just
yeah.
got there, so,
So page 4,
okay,
On
page
your-
4 and 5 are both revenue.
okay.
So page 4 shows the federal revenue dollars and where the money is coming in from. And the state breaks down all of the money coming in from the state, whether it is EPA or Prop 30,
Okay.
the one-time dollars from the mandate, or the apportionment. Now, this tentative budget is a little different than what we've had in the past. In the past, each one of these columns was a previous fiscal year. Because we had the agreements for the labor contracts, we wanted to show the adopted budget and we wanted to show the tentative budget, but there were huge significant increases and we needed to explain to everybody why it increased. So we put in the 13-14 adopted, the current year 14-15 adopted, and then the adjusted, because we had money that was taken from various areas of the budget, the reserves for contingencies, so on and so forth. Yeah.
So is adjusted like actual, or is the actual budget different from adjusted and adopt?
The adjusted just shows that we have moved money from some areas of the budget to other areas.
So it's still not an actual budget.
No, it's an actual budget.
It's
It's a
just
budget,
been
it's not
adjusted.
actual
Is
expenditure.
it the actual expense, you're right.
Yeah.
So
Where
in the
is
next,
that budget?
Danny, you knew what I
What's
was
that?
thinking.
Where's that budget?
Not that, but that expense,
real
the actual
budget.
expenditure.
the adjusted budget is the real budget.
Well, budget, but
You just
she's
asked me that two
asking,
different ways and you
she's
said
asking
it's
for
not.
actual
Then I'm not understanding.
expenditures.
You're both talking to
That-
me at the same time.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, okay,
Let
so,
him talk.
okay, go ahead.
I think she's asking for the actual expenditures. I mean, a budget is a plan,
Right.
but the actual
Yeah.
expenditures in each of those, I think that's what she's asking for.
Okay, but this is the income. So the expenditures are on the
Right.
following pages.
Okay.
But the actual budget,
Income, the actual income is here.
to date, for May, okay, let me go back. The adopted budget for 14-15 is what we took to the board in September of 2014. Because we had labor agreements, we had money that we needed to move around. And we didn't want to show that we had, let's say, in a line of the budget, $20 million, and all of a sudden it said $30 million. We wanted to explain why that happened. So we dropped in the adjusted budget column. The adjusted budget just tells everybody where we are as of today, because money has moved from where we were to where we are. In the next column, it says income, and it says as of 5/30/2015. This is the column I think you guys are talking about. On the next few pages, the column will change from income to expense. Okay?
But why would the income change any, no matter what we negotiated as far as?
Because we don't get the money on July 1st. We get the money throughout the year. So you'll see, go down to the state, line 8611, state general apportionment.
Okay,
So we know we're gonna get $63.9 million this year in state apportionment.
okay.
But we only got, as of May 30th, $49.9 million. So we're still waiting for the balance.
Okay, okay.
So it's a snapshot at
So you
that
can
time.
see
So, but it's
money
not
owed.
related to the negotiations. I thought you were saying this is somehow
The
related.
expenses are.
The
You'll
expenses
see.
are,
Yeah.
not the
Quick
income.
question on page 5. For 2014-15 adjusted budget, we had $10 million. Is that tuition, enrollment fees?
What line are you looking at?
I'm looking at line 8874.
Yeah, so these are the fees, are these the international?
No, I think these are just enrollment fees, and I guess what happens, like, there's money that goes out for, like, I think we pay out, I'm not sure, I think it's financial aid. This line is two lines collapsed together. So one line has the money coming in, and then another line has the money going out. So I think this has to do with money that goes to students. We get money in, and then we send out money through like financial aid or BOG waivers or something like that. And these two lines, there's two lines that get collapsed together. One is positive with the money coming in, and then the money goes out when we
So
send
we're
out.
pass through.
But 8874 is on the budget, on the income
So-
statement.
It's still income.
But
even
yeah,
though we
this is
collect
the,
it.
yeah, this is just the net of the two lines.
Okay, now, there's a note
So there's more.
on, there's a note on
Mhm.
the adjusted budget that something was incorrectly
Right.
booked.
So go back to page 4. Under the adopted budget, we had state apportionment, line 8611, at $65.8 million.
Yes.
So during our audit, because the summer intersessions, because summer 1 and summer 2 census dates are before and after the new fiscal year, we booked the census date for summer 2 after July 1st in summer 1, before July 1st. We had to correct that. So it's just moving $1.9 million from the state apportionment down to the enrollment fees, because that's where it was coming from. And so the reason you're seeing it in the two different columns is because we booked it in the wrong place. And because we booked it in the wrong place. It wasn't state apportionment, it was enrollment fee. And it
Okay.
was based on the fact that summer 1 versus summer 2. We just
If
made a
in
mistake.
2015-16, we've got a pretty substantial increase in that
Mhm.
line.
So we're seeing a substantial increase in the enrollment fees, and then if you look down at line 8880, non-resident tuition, there's an increase there as well, and it's because our growth has been so significant.
Okay.
And is this like fog waivers or something?
don't know.
There's
We
something
need to
that,
look.
yeah, it's the.
We'll look at 8874 to determine
So
what
it's
the
like-
enrollment fees are.
Yeah, so there's a negative and a positive, and those two lines get collapsed together, which I think there's an explanation down at the bottom, but.
Okay, but we'll look.
Okay.
Okay, so on page 6, this is where the expenses start. So income was in the previous 2 pages, the rest are expenses. So the one column is the only one that changed, and this is as of 5/30/15. So page 5 are all the academic salaries. We went from total academic, if you look at the bottom line, the 14-15 adopted was at 61.2 million. The adjusted as of May 30th, what we adjusted the budget to was 62.4 million. And as of May 30th, we spent in payroll $57.8 million.
But we're still missing a month.
Yes.
Maybe 2 months, cause
No,
it
a month.
posts. Yeah,
Oh, from here, we're missing 2 months.
5:30.
2 months.
yeah, cause we're behind too, cause we have to post to Banner. So as of this date, what would have been posted would have been April, up to April 30th. So May and June are missing out of these numbers.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Rod, going back to your question about the 36 retirees, if you look at the first line, the 1110, so the adjusted budget is $29 million.
Mhm.
We are reducing that line for next fiscal year to 26.5 million because there is a savings.
Okay, okay, great.
Okay, any questions on this page? No? Okay. The next page, page 7, is the breakdown of the classified salaries. This does include the management monthly, the supervision monthly. It includes the maintenance and operations staff and facilities. It includes hourly classified student workers and the overtime. So it's not simply the salaries for classified, it does have other categories, but the category as a whole is classified. So the total classified salaries for the adjusted budget is total classified is 24.5 million, and next year it is 25.3 million. Okay. The total salaries for academic and classified adjusted budget is 87 million. Next year it's 87.9 million. So the increase from the adopted to the adjusted is about $2.5 million. And that's why we wanted to show the movement for the year.
But, okay, so you're saying that total salaries are gonna go up roughly $1 million next year, at least in your tentative budget,
From our adjusted,
right?
yes.
Okay. But faculty salaries went down 2.5 million. So there's 3.5 million, so what is the 3.5 million?
Well, but it also went up in other categories. So yeah, the full-time faculty went down, the 3 million or whatever that is, 2.5
2.5,
million.
yeah.
But other lines in the budget actually increased.
Right, that's what Danny's asking.
Well, yeah, I
What
know, but
lines were
what
they?
lines were, I mean, you know, it's okay. I'll look at it, and if I got questions, I'll come back to you. But
Okay.
I mean,
To be honest with you, a lot of areas in the budget were not adequately funded, and the money was spread out into other categories. What we're trying to do is put the money in the categories or the lines of the budget where they actually belong. So during the year, fiscal services isn't having to search where money is and having to move it. We're moving it, so on July 1st, it's where it needs to be.
Joe, what about hourly and student workers? You know, we were quite underfunded last year, and now it's going down. I mean, why
Yes.
zero? Well, not zero there, but for 2311, I mean, to have a drop like that when it wasn't enough last time, what's that about?
So this is, again, because of the tentative, and we don't have the reports. The hourly classified is not the same thing as the student workers or the college assistants. You're right, it did go down. We had to balance the budget. I'm assuming that more money will go back into those lines once we get the P2 and the advanced apportionment. But we had to balance, and this is where we had to be for the tentative. And not everybody's gonna spend these lines in the first 3 to 6 months of the fiscal year.
Joe, can you walk me through the part about adjuncts? On
Yeah,
the
what
spent
page?
side, on the expense side, page 6.
What line?
Adjunct.
I know, but what line?
1320 maybe?
Okay.
So what you're talking about?
Yeah. So on the expenses, what did you want to know, Kathy? So it
Well, it cost us money for the growth that we got.
Yes. And this is
So
where
I'm just
that cost
asking,
is
how
gonna be.
far are we over? Are we not over?
We are
What
over.
was the impact of growing?
So at the time of this tentative budget, as of 5/30/15, we spent $18.8 million, but we only had, in the adjusted budget, $17.3 million. So we had already overspent, and we still have 2 more pay cycles that are not reflected here. So my guess is that it will be overspent by several millions of dollars.
So will the 2263, will that cover it
No.
for next year?
It will cover it if we are efficient. There are conversations about having efficiencies in the classrooms, having efficiencies on the operational side of the house. What those efficiencies will be, I'm not quite sure. We have to work through that. But in order to balance the budget, we had to look at various lines in the budget. If we did nothing at all and we made no changes whatsoever, the projected amount for this line is probably $24 million.
well, then why'd you put 20.3? Or am I misunderstanding what you
Because
said?
we're looking to become more efficient. So
Okay.
if we have,
It's aspirational.
Okay.
so where I came from, we, during the economic downturn, we internally to operations had to look at different things. So we looked at data plugs in the wall. You may have 4 plugs for a computer and a telephone. You're not using 2 of the 4. So were all 4 active? In our case, many of them were. We saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by going through and making those types of changes. We needed 2, they're active, 2 are active that we don't use, we cut off the usage. So we went through and we became more efficient on the operational side. On the academic side here, I'm not sure what Kathy and Dr. Bell will do, but there needs to be a plan on the academic side about how to become more efficient. There needs to be a plan on the operational side about how to become more efficient. And then what that means is that we need to, in the end, save money somehow. Does that make sense?
Yep,
Okay.
thanks.
Can you run through, I guess this is on page 7, what's the difference between management monthly and supervision monthly?
It's just the way that they're categorized. So I would fall into the category for management monthly.
Sorry, what are
Page 7, line 2120.
Under classified salaries.
I think we got 2 sevens.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm looking at 7.
No, you gotta look up in the page, not down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. So
Look-
which line are we looking at?
The second line under classified
Supervisors
salaries.
and managers.
Yeah, there.
21 to 20.
Teachers and employees.
And I'm just,
So it's just the way we categorize it. I would be in the management salary category.
And I'm a supervisory, I'm a 21-25.
They're line managers,
supervisors,
yeah.
okay.
It's just a different category.
Right, I mean, I understand that, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand who's
I don't
in
know
what,
why they're
you know,
separated.
who's in what category and what they do that's,
So where would a vice
Different.
president be?
In 2120.
A
So the
vice, a
deans-
vice president?
uh-huh.
That would be a certificated, so it'd be like a 12-20.
Oh, that's a whole
like
different.
on the
Academic
previous,
salaries.
yes, that
The
would be,
vice president would be certificate.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
Vice president,
Oh,
president,
certificate.
Oh, because
Um,
it's under academic salaries.
VPs.
VP of, how about
That's
assistant
academic.
superintendent of
Yeah,
physical
okay.
services?
There is
Um,
no such thing, but I'd like one.
And that's where the president is too?
So the president should be in 1220, right?
Yes,
Certificate in
yeah, so president would be a 1220, VPs would be 1220s,
there. And dean?
deans, I think are 1220 also.
Associate deans.
Mhm.
Uh-huh, any kind of
Okay.
dean.
Wait, $2 million, really? 2.6?
Okay, so just a quick question, the 50% law, it says total academic on the bottom, well, 6 or 7, I don't know which page numbers you're using, but, so 62.5, or up there, 62.6.
Mhm.
And then the total budget is, I think, or total appropriated. What is the total budget? Because 146, I guess,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
So 62 and 62 is 124.
Well,
So that doesn't meet
The to-
50%. So are there other numbers that come into that? That's all I'm asking.
yes. So remember when Headville walked us through, you may not have been there, but for the, one of the BRAC meetings, Headville walked us through the 311 report and how we report the information that gets put into the calculation for the 50% law. So it's not just salaries, there are other things that can go into it. I believe instructional equipment can go into it. Some of the adjunct dollars can go into it. If there are supplies related to the classroom, I think some of those things can go into it. It's not strictly the salaries.
Okay, but
Benefits can go into it.
plus you can't count what was it, librarians and counselors towards that, right?
Correct.
Which is in this amount. So that's going to reduce this significantly. So there's other large amounts of money because you're looking at $20 or $30 million that would have to be there to reach that 50%.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So we were on page 7 for the total salaries, both academic and classified. Anything else before we move on to other expenses? No? Okay. So the next page, page 8, are the beginning of the employee benefits. So this is not only this is what the employer mandated costs are. So this is STRS, PERS, OSDI is older adults. This is something, I forget what the
Yeah,
rest is, but
old
disability
age,
insurance.
social security, something like that. Old
Medicare.
age, yeah,
Is it really
it's
called
one piece of, yeah.
It's not very
Yeah.
flattering.
That's what the, oh, yeah.
Welcome to
That's what
retirement.
OA
So
stands for,
Medicare-
old
so
age.
Medicare-
Budget is ageist.
Yeah.
I got my first discount this week. I was so excited. Are you part of the Tuesday Club? Hell yes, I am. Give me my discount, please.
So OSDI, I think, and Medicare are like two pieces of Social Security.
And I don't think faculty pay into Social Security, is that right?
Yeah.
I
Right.
think,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So the health and welfare is
I
the
think
next
they
line.
pay-
Well, it
We do pay the
depends.
Medicare.
Yeah.
You pay,
Medicare,
they
but
pay,
not-
but yeah, not the
Well,
OASDI.
Don't they pay into Social Security like in some?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So health and welfare, that's the healthcare benefits. So you can see that's gone up quite a bit. And again, once we get the actual renewal for October 1st, we'll be able to kind of go in and adjust those numbers if they can be adjusted. The next page is page 9. These are continued benefits. SUI, I forget what that stands for.
Unemployment.
State unemployment insurance.
WCI is the workers' compensation that we have to pay in. Cash in lieu, these are the individuals who choose to take cash rather than participate in the benefits. Apple are for part-time employees. This is their retirement program, and Apple actually stands for Accumulation Program for Part-Time and Limited Services Employees. And then we have other benefits, and you'll see to the right, we actually zeroed these things out. We zeroed them out, and we moved those dollars into the
Oh,
budget
okay.
where they actually need to be. Okay. So total.
Sorry, is there a way for us as a school to decide when we want to put people in active since it's not really good for anybody?
Say that again?
Is there a way for us as a school to stop using Apple
Yeah.
and use STRS instead? And how do we do that as a school?
I don't know. I would ask HR.
Okay.
Ask Julie.
All right.
That's a lot more expensive. Just had to throw that out.
LACCD's done it though, right?
I don't know.
Oh, lot of schools have done. It's the better thing to do.
The new hires have that as an
It's the
option
right thing to do.
at the time of their employment.
Okay. Even for part-time people, Billy?
Yeah.
Because it's not.
They have the option, they just don't know the difference, and they're ready to do that because it's less expensive.
Not
It's
bad,
how we
I'm
think.
just stating fact.
Okay, so the total compensation, that's the salaries and the employee benefits. Employee benefits are all of the employer mandated costs plus the healthcare benefits. So our total cost there or expense for the tentative budget is approximately 117 million. So you'll see the adopted for 14-15 was, the adjusted went up to 117 million, 116.4 million, and it's now up 1.5 million for next year at 117,900. Okay, and the reason why it did not go up more was because with the retirements, it was a good savings. All right, next page, page 10. This is where we start our operational lines in the budget. So our supplies, our services, those types of things. Because we did have the gap and we needed to balance, we did cut quite a bit out of these lines. Not a good thing. Hopefully the money will go back after P2 in the advance, but we for a tentative, had to put something in place, and this is what works. So, one thing I want to point out is we were able to try to keep the supplies pretty much where they were this year. Software went down. Duplicating actually went up. Went down from the adopted of this year. Fuel actually went down a little bit because it's not as expensive. Services, consultants went down. Lecturers and performing artists went down. The distributed reserve. So when we get to the definitions, I want to point out what that $12 million is. But primarily what that is the $11.3 million that we're getting in the one-time amounts. And we're going to show you where that money is going in a second. Conferences and seminars went down. Institutional membership actually went up, but we're going to look into that because I don't know why it would have gone up, but that's based on the request that everybody had. Our insurance for fire and casualty, this is that additional $135,000 that we were told we would go up 15%, and now we're being told it's actually less than what we spent this year. So that number, that line in the adopted budget may actually look a little different. Student insurance, insurance and registration, 5440. This is for the out-of-state tuition, where a student has to pay the full amount, the international students, where they have to pay the full amount of the full credit amount plus their insurance. This is simply a pass-through. When they sign up with the college, we collect money from them for their health insurance. We then take that money and actually pay the health insurance bill, the affluent health insurance for them. Okay. Page 11. Services continued. We have all of our utility costs here, repair and upkeep, board elections, auditing services, legal expenses, software multi-user license. This is where we added that $450,000 that we highlighted in the PowerPoint because it was underfunded before. Other services. So we have those 5 CERP plans. $2 million out of this $3.3 million is for those 5 CERP plans. In previous years, those 5 CERT plans, for whatever reason, were budgeted in different areas of the budget. Didn't make sense to us, we put it all together and we put it in this line. Okay, so really, it's $1.3 million for
What number
services.
is that?
Line 5820 on page 11.
Other services.
Yeah.
Sorry, and what did you just say that
Sir.
was? I was
Yes,
trying.
sir.
Sir,
The CERT, $2 million out of that $3.3 million is for those 5 different CERT programs.
Okay.
Next year, $1 million will come back to the budget for use in other areas because the first CERT will be paid off.
It looks like you have in the tentative budget for 15-16 a board election, and I think it's this year, not next year. Is that right, or am I wrong?
November of 16.
There's always a
Okay,
board
okay,
election
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
budget.
Okay, so
isn't
you got it
there?
in the right one, yeah.
But we reduce it depending on the year.
Ah.
So this year, it was like, I think, what was it?
0.
No.
Should have been 0, because.
It was
Yeah, the
when we
expense
did
was
zero
zero.
expense.
Well,
Because there was no election.
Yeah, but there was a
but there was a
budget.
$325,000 amount in the budget,
Uh-huh.
and then throughout the year,
Adopted
we
budget.
moved that money to other areas to pay for things, because there were no elections.
So why do they do
Right,
that?
so you budget yeah.
Yeah. What's
So
that?
why do we do that?
I don't know, Danny. This is the first time I've had fiscal, so I don't know why they did
They've been doing
in
it
the
for
past.
years. We've asked
Yeah.
numerous times. I'm not blaming you, but.
No, I
mean,
say that
it's-
because I don't know the answer. I guess it's kind of like a area that if you have something that comes up that's,
Like special elections and
I know,
stuff
but
like
that's
Yeah.
the.
unexpected,
Right.
that's not the way it should be
It
done.
creates it's
Correct.
the whole idea that we
Right.
keep
Perception.
saying, you guys put money in accounts, and then there's no money for the things when we ask for money, because they're sitting in accounts where you know you're never gonna spend the money. So, I mean, it would be reasonable, I guess, if you put 2,000 every year, if you're gonna use 4,000 every 2 years,
Right.
but.
Yeah, I don't know
so-
the answer, and I agree with you, the money should actually be in the budget where it needs to be used. Because not only does it make sense, but it creates more problems for us in fiscal, trying to manage all of the transfers back and forth. And then we don't have the ability to look at historical information and make a real determination of how much money is needed in those lines of the budget.
What are expenses that are related to the board elections that the college is responsible for?
The county register recorder that does all of the election processes for us actually charges us a portion of all of the election costs. So,
Candidates don't pay for that when they?
No,
I don't know.
no, that would disenfranchise poor people.
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, but we get a bill from the county register recorder.
Joe?
Yeah.
In the event that there were fines associated with a program review or audit exceptions or things, where does that funding come from?
That doesn't happen, David.
Ah,
In the event, okay.
We got
There is no
19 million
line,
reserves,
there is no
so-
line in the budget for that, which
Okay.
is not good.
I think my glass is now half full.
Okay.
Okay.
We do have a different fund, and I forget the fund number, but we do have a different fund for property and liability.
Okay.
So let's say somebody trips and falls, and we have a claim from that person because they broke their leg or they have to have surgery. We have a member retained limit up to $50,000. So if the actual claim costs $200,000, the district pays $50,000, and then the difference is paid by our coverage. So Fund 62 is property and liability. That's where those types of things would come out. We don't have a line in the budget for employment types of cases. We don't have a line in the budget for program reviews or audit findings. That's when fiscal has to step in and say, okay, now we need to find.
But they don't happen, so we don't need to have
That's
this
right.
conversation.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
it's
even brought
okay.
it up.
It's an area that we need to look at. All right. So I think that's all I wanted to point out on this page, was the SERP and how we collapsed it. Page 12, capital outlay, very little money set aside. These are program-specific needs. So in capital outlay, you'll see 60,000 and 70,000. Excuse me, that's money that the Veterans Resource Center, Patty DeOrange Martin, found within her operational budget to move money aside to pay for the renovation. So facilities, out of Fund 41, will do the renovation for them, but we didn't have enough money to pay for the computer equipment and whatever else they needed. So she looked at her budget and said, okay, I don't need to spend certain things next year. Can I use that money to pay for this stuff? So this is for VRC. The other outgo, these are just other things that come up throughout the year. Some of these lines may be related to student financial aid, return to Title V payments for students. We have a small $10,000 distributed reserve, so if something does come up with the student, we're able to take care of that. And then this is the line for the reserves for contingencies. So at the beginning of the year, we had $7 million. We did a request from the board to take 3.8 million from that 7 million, and we have 3.3 left over. To balance the budget for 15-16, we had to use about $300,000 from here. So our tentative budget has $3 million in the reserves for contingencies. And then line 9760 general reserves. This is what I call the lockbox. This is the $12,050,000 that we have to go to the board to get approved, just like the reserves for contingencies, but then we have to go to LACO and do some other things. Okay, so we have total appropriated in the budget $162 million. On the next page, you'll see page 13, The available revenue, so we believe we will start this year off at 15.4 million. We have $147 million coming in revenue. That includes the one-time dollars. So we have a total of $162.3 million available to us. That includes the reserves. So the total expenses is $146.5 million. That means that we have about $400,000 of money that is not tied to a certain line in the budget. It's not perfect, in other words. So 147 million in outgo.
This will go up significantly when we start moving the money out of Fund 1 and into all those different funds, like the 1.3 million or.
We'll get to that in a second. So what Lacanya is saying is that because it includes the one-time dollars, that number will go up to show that we're moving it into other funds. We'll talk about that in a second. So the reserves, or the ending balance next year, at this time next year, will be 15.4 million. And we're gonna show you where that 1.5 million we talked about earlier is coming from. So if we move that 1.5 million over, this time next year, the budget, or the reserves, will be 16.8, 16.9
Okay,
million
all right.
dollars.
It isn't accounted for here, okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, okay.
Okay? So any questions about the tentative?
So, yeah, I have just one question, I just want to make sure I understand right. So when you have the total compensation was, basically it rounds out to 118 million.
I'm sorry, Daniel, what page?
Sorry, page 9,
Okay.
the bottom right.
Uh-huh.
It's 118 million total compensation. And then the budget for this year looks like it's 146.5 million, which is on page 12, in the middle of page 12.
Right.
So that's about 80.5%. So we were at we kept saying we were gonna go over 90%. We never went over 90, but we were at 89, 87. We're down to 80.5%. Is that right?
I wouldn't calculate it quite, it's not that easy of a calculation, but I do think we are closer to the 85%. So this time last year.
No, that's 80.5%.
But you're
Okay.
talking about the expense, you're talking about the employee expense versus the revenue coming in. That thing that we show each year for the adopted budget.
Sorry about that. Well, I don't know, I thought it was the total compensation for employees and your expenses, but, okay, so it's your income?
It's the reason why I say it's probably higher is because we shouldn't be counting in the one-time dollars in that calculation.
Shouldn't be including what?
The one-time dollars.
Okay.
You should be looking at the ongoing revenue and the ongoing expense, and that way it's kind of an apple-to-apple comparison. So it's probably closer to the 85%.
So where's the total number? Because I always thought they did it to the budget, but if
We
you're
do
gonna.
for the adopted budget, not the tentative.
Okay, so,
By the time we get to the adopted, we actually have the numbers.
so what is the total amount, where would you find the total amount of the projected income here?
It's on page 13, bottom after the.
Well, it is, but I would go back up to page 5,
Page 5,
the one-time dollars.
one-time dollars.
So the total income is 146.9 minus that 11.3 million. So it's 135, give or take.
So it's 135, okay.
And then on top of that, to get the whole picture, you add in the 11.3 of the one-time, and then your beginning balance of that 15.4 million.
But if the percentage, because this is a thing that's used all the time, okay? Especially when we get into negotiations, so I want to understand. So the denominator should be about 135 million. I mean, that's roughly the income.
Yeah.
And the expenses, it said were 118. So whatever that number is, 18 divided by, what did you just say, 135. Okay, so 87.4. But we've come down about 2% at least.
Yeah,
Okay.
our estimates are always about 90%, and then when the third-party auditor comes in and they complete their audit and they say we did good with closing our books, then we recalculate that number. So last year, I think we estimated 2 years ago, I think we estimated at the adopted budget, we were at 89%. And then the following year, when we did the corrected actual amount, it actually dropped down to about 87%.
Right, so the actual numbers have never, I don't think, ever been over 88%. But
They-
we're always claiming that we're gonna go 90, you know, we're out of control, we gotta do something about it. But with your projections, which you've admitted are very conservative on the income and,
What I admitted.
and very, what's the opposite of conservative on the expenses, we're down to 87.4, so we're probably gonna end up closer to 85% or something like
I
that.
think
But we're
so.
doing very well in that category.
Yeah, and this year, at the time of the adopted budget for 14-15, I felt very good about that. We were, I think, at 86%.
Okay.
So we'll see. Once we get all the numbers, hopefully we are conservative, but we'll see. And that actually happens in the adopted.
Bill, if you, I know it's late and everything, can you just go over the college assistant issue just for a second? Is that clear in here?
What exactly? The over expense
Yeah.
or the
I'd
reason why
like
we
to know.
cut back?
Yeah, and what's budgeted for next year?
Okay, so what's budgeted for next year for college assistants?
Is that,
not,
is that, what line is that in here?
so go to page,
The classified page.
let's go to page, I think, 6.
Is it hourly
No, page,
classified?
go to page 7. And it's 2312, relief or extra help.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so as of the end of May, well, let me go back. The district has, in my opinion, the district is severely understaffed when it comes to classified staff.
I would agree.
And so what happens is that many areas need, like John is here, John's area is a good example of having the need for college assistants. It doesn't make sense to hire 10 permanent full-time employees when we could have the same level of service with college assistants that are able to address the number of hours that we have in the reading
I think,
lab.
I appreciate you using our area as an example, but we really don't have that many college assistants. We have tons of student workers, and they're tutors. So if you hired one tutor at a salary, it wouldn't do us any good. We do much better by having lots of tutors, student tutors, for lots of reasons. It's
So-
other areas I think you're referring to.
No, I'm using you as the example of
Okay.
where we do need them. So whether they're
Definitely,
college assistants or
definitely,
student
yeah.
workers,
Yeah.
that's where we have a need. But in other areas of the district,
Right.
we rely too heavily on part-time hourly people when
Yeah.
I think we should have permanent staff.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we do not have enough money coming in to hire a permanent employee and pay for all of the benefits or the employer mandated costs. So we rely heavily on the college assistants and the student workers. Unfortunately, we do not stick to our budgets. So in 14-15, between those two lines, we had budgeted $1.9 million. As of the end of May 31st, we had overspent that $1.9 million by more than $1.5 million, I think it was. By the end of this year, potentially we could overspend the college assistants and the student workers by $3 million, give or take. So what we have to do is look internally and become more efficient about the workload. We have to ensure that people are doing a full workload, a full 8-hour day. We have to make sure that if we have, in my areas, if we have 3 college assistants, and this isn't happening in purchasing, but if we have 3 college assistants in purchasing and we really only need 1 because people aren't pulling their, and I'm not saying this is happening there, and I hope they don't ever see this, but let's say the permanent staff are not pulling their weight. Well, the manager of that area needs to sit them down and have a conversation with them and then go to their college assistants and say, I appreciate everything you guys have done for us, but we have enough work for 1 college assistant, not 3. So there needs to be a review. Currently, we are overspending and we're spending way too much. This is one area of the budget where we have to cut back, and we're able to cut back in the sense that we don't have an obligation to a hourly employee.
Now, you say we overspent, I just have a question.
Mhm.
We were cut back on our college assistant,
For many years.
so, you know what I'm saying, you cut us
The
back, so we
workload
may have
has
spent
gone
the
up.
same amount, but the problem is that we were cut.
Right. But the problem isn't that we were cut, is that people are not, for lack of a better word, abiding by their budget. So they're doing one of two things. They either are purposely overspending, which I hope that they're not, or they are not educated enough about their budget, how to move money. Because many areas in the district will look at their budget and say, okay, I have $5,000 in supplies, but I'm only going to spend $500 this year. Let me move $4,500 to the college assistant line so I can hire a college assistant. That's not happening. So what we're doing is essentially overspending. You're overspending one area thinking that the money over here is going to cover it, but then you wind up spending this money over here because you need something that comes up later in the year.
Okay, now, just say if one of our staff members leaves, a classified staff member leaves, and we end up having to backfill that person with college assistants, we're not allowed to take the money from that salary
So because
to use it for the college assistant.
In
Because we're not
this-
gonna be able to take supply money in some cases, because we barely have any.
Right.
So then we're in
this
a
year,
mess.
in 14-15, we said to everybody, you cannot take your personnel dollars and move them. In a organization that is disciplined about their budgets, what should happen is if somebody leaves, they say, okay, I have salary savings in this line of the budget because somebody left. Can I take X amount of dollars and move it to this line of the budget to hire somebody temporarily? That's fine. But when we have a line item in the budget that's several $1 million overextended, we have to do two things. We need to get people educated about how not to do that and how to move money in their budget to cover those expenses. And at the same time, on the back end, we need to make sure that we in fiscal are doing what we need to do to make sure the bottom line of the budget is still financially healthy. So this year,
So we can,
people,
if we can
I don't know
take
yet.
money from the salaries, we can come talk to them
No.
and say we need to move them over.
in this year, the answer is no. Beginning next year, it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
If people are able to be disciplined about their budgets.
Okay, let me ask you one more question. So the budget for college assistants for next year is $1 million basically,
Mm-hmm.
which is significantly less than what we're spending, just
Mhm.
giantly less. Now, we've got $1 million in classified, to hire a new classified, but that isn't gonna make up for the cut in the college assistant. So we're not gonna be able to hire a new classified to make up this loss.
Right. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier about how managers need to be accountable about the workflow that they've got. And I completely agree with you, because the district has grown so much with our FTES and our head count, it's hard to keep up. But because our expenses are more than what the revenue is coming in, we have to prioritize and make some decisions.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just on the
and
record,
please
it's
remember-
hard for
And I
a
get it.
school when they got 7% more students coming into the office, they don't have enough staff
I
to say,
completely
to
understand.
sit down with the staff and tell them they're not,
Yeah.
they need to do better.
So I completely understand, and I hope you understand that on the operational end, we are impacted in the same way. Because when you have
Yeah, I
growth
do
on the
understand.
academic side,
I do
the
understand.
operational side also is impacted.
I
So
agree.
we get it, I
Okay.
completely get it.
Okay.
But please remember, this is tentative, and we still don't have the 2 reports that we need to have in order to put a budget in place.
Okay.
And these are just estimates right now. We are trying very hard to be as conservative as possible. Because what we don't want to do is put money in the budget, and then come September, go back to you and say, sorry, we need to take back $100,000. Because that's more difficult to do than get extra money in September. Okay, so any other questions?
Sorry, I
Yes.
just had to get that.
Very quickly, the health benefit change that's in there. I know I saw a $2 million something, I just don't remember where it
For
was.
the new,
For
Or
the,
classified, or hourly, so,
yes, so if you go back to this page,
was it $2 million?
it's 2.1 million.
Okay.
So look in this document, this is telling you where the big buckets of money are.
Yeah,
If you go to page 2,
okay,
right here in the middle, we have page 10 of the tentative budget, 5189 distributed reserves. That $12 million,
number 4.
yeah, that $12 million is making up, not all of these things, but $12.1 million is many of these things in this list.
Okay.
So
So
if we
these
go
are
back,
health benefits we've never had before.
Correct,
this
this
is
is
the
brand new.
Affordable Care Act, so it's
Okay.
kinda like the STRS thing we were talking about, but it's for medical.
it's because we now have, under ACA, the obligation to offer somebody who works on average 30 hours a week for
Hourly.
52 weeks
Yeah.
a year. And it's not, hourly as in college assistants, because they're only allowed to work up to 900 hours. This is adjunct.
Tell me more.
I would ask that you go talk with HR. They're trying to put a plan in place.
Yeah,
Right.
so
We still
it's,
have a
it's,
number
it's,
of
That's great news.
Yeah, so it's mandated.
That's what I was thinking it was, that's what I was hoping it was.
Yeah.
But this was the first time I saw it in writing.
But, okay, so one of the things I just want to mention to people is when we are paying for something, something else has to give. It's kind of like the thing Kathy is talking about with the college assistants. You know, we need more college assistants, but then we also need to say, how are we paying for this? That question needs to go with more spending money. We need to be finding the money in the budget. And if we're going to the reserve, we need to say that, and we need to go to the board and do whatever we have to do. But if we're not doing that, we have to find the money. So my problem is people are sending me pieces of paper, and when I look at the paper and I analyze it, it's more money. But the money is not in the budget, and no one, and the person sending me the paper, if you're spending the money, you have to identify where it's coming from. And that's not happening. So it's a good thing. I'd love for people to all be on STIRS. I'd love for everybody to have health and welfare, but where are we gonna get the money out of the budget? Where are we gonna squeeze to, what are we gonna cut to have these things?